Today, I'm looking forward to sharing my stories about my shamanic training and really let you know from my own personal experience how I got into shamanic work. Because I feel like it's very relatable to so many people who have gone through trauma, who have struggled and found their way to Reiki, found their way to healing techniques that have made a profound impact in their lives. And I can truly say that at the point of me taking my own shamanic training, my life and my practice significantly changed. I would not be here where I am today had it not been for this training. So I've had numerous people in the Reiki Cafe world ask me questions about how this can influence their practice, their Reiki practice. Do I have to be at a certain point in my spiritual practice and my spiritual development to take this training? And I love this question because the answer simply is you can be anywhere on your spiritual journey and take this, whether you are just starting off or you've been in it for 20, 30, 40 years. You're going to learn some new tools and techniques to further develop. And when I personally took my shamanic training 14 years ago, I was in a place where I was young. I was also a very young mother. I had a 2-year-old at the time from my first marriage, and that marriage was in turmoil. I was in a narcissistic, abusive relationship. I was being I felt very small in that relationship. I was basically reprimanded or shamed if I ever did my Reiki practice. And so it was something that didn't come out of the woodworks very often. It wasn't until the very end of the relationship where I basically chose my spiritual life and me being free over the relationship. And so when I discovered shamanic journey work, I was a Reiki master, but I became a Reiki master at 22 years old. And so this was, I was age 26 at the time of taking my shamanic training. And most of that time I was with my first husband. And so I wasn't really allowed to practice Reiki, or else I would receive significant emotional abuse. So I was at the beginning stages in my mind of my spiritual development. I hadn't really practiced Reiki very deeply. It was a surface level practice for me, if at all, at that time. So it was very much dormant and on the back burner when I started my shamanic practice. Now I stumbled into it. I was looking for a counselor who would help me through deciding if I wanted a divorce or not. I didn't even know that I wanted a divorce when I started my counseling journey at the young age of 26 with a 2-year-old on my hip. And when I started my counseling, it happened to be with a counselor who was also a shamanic practitioner. And she was trained in the Harner method of shamanic counseling. Therefore, she could charge insurance to train me in shamanic practices. And her typical training was about six sessions, 6 weeks long, typically. And it was fantastic. I loved it. I learned so much, and I really got to start at least identifying with my spirit team. So meaning in those 6 sessions, I learned how to journey to the lower world. The lower world is where you find your power animal. And so I was able to meet my power animal. And it was when I saw my power, I'm like, oh, I know you. And just because that like dreams or whatever it may be, I had already been introduced, but I didn't really know them. So the knowingness of your power animal, it changes the dynamics of relationship dynamics when you move into journey work. So yes, I recognize them, but now I was able to have a conversation with them and have a 2-way journey. Like power animals typically take you somewhere, explore with you, show you something. And that is the way they communicate. And so that was all very new to me. And so I was like, awesome. Okay. So I have my power animals. So that was the first couple of sessions. This next couple of sessions after that were to go to the upper world and meet your teacher in human form. That was the language that they used. And so when I went, I met my primary spirit guide, And she was super funny. And oftentimes when you travel, especially when you journey and you travel to these different realms without any, precognition of like what it's supposed to look like, it can be very unique per individual. And so I was able to go to the upper world, see my guardian angel, my primary spirit guide, and learn how to connect with them and have conversations with them. And that was really the point of that's the 6 weeks. Well, since it helped me so much in my current situation of trying to decide whether to stay in this relationship or not, how do I support myself as a single mom? All of these things about what do I need to do to gain strength? What do I need to do to heal? How can I receive the encouragement from my spirit team to keep going on this track? I stayed on in this shamanic journey training for about 6 months. And it really led me through healing so many different parts of myself, everything from childhood trauma to really getting to know not only like those how-tos of shamanic journey work, but really diving into building those relationships, recognizing and having that understanding of how do I connect with my animal guide or my spirit guide when I need support, when I need protection, when I need to be shown a sign of which way to go. All of those things could be covered in those counseling sessions. So I was very fortunate to have stumbled upon this. And I really do believe that it was divine intercession and it was divinely brought to me, this opportunity. And the counselor was very happy to train me because she recognized that I had a gift for holding space for others and how doing the shamanic work. And so she trained me until she felt comfortable that I could lead groups to hold space for other groups to do shamanic journey work. And so because she had trained so many people in my town that I wasn't aware of. And so they needed support. And so I was able to quote unquote graduate, if you will, from those sessions and then lead other groups to give them journey prompts and to hold space for them. And so I did that off and on for the following 6 years. And it was really this catalyst to my spiritual practice because Reiki was dormant, and the shamanic journey work is what really infused my spiritual practice again and brought Reiki back for me. So when I did end up leaving my husband, I went to go live with another single mom who had a same age child who also had a daycare in her house. Thank you, divine universe. That was the perfect living situation from coming out of an emotionally abusive relationship where I was secluded. I didn't know anyone. And so I was tag-teaming mothering with this other woman. And once the kids were in bed, it really was a time for me to go into deep meditation, to do my shamanic journey work, connect with my guides, and ask my guides, what do I do with this Reiki thing? How do I use Reiki? I'm not a book learner. Like I have all the manuals, I have a lot of books, but I don't necessarily take in information the best through reading. I'm an audible, communicative learner. And guess what? Going and meeting a shaman through shamanic journey work, I could go and meet a Reiki guide, my Reiki teacher in spirit form, for them to teach me. They could teach me where I should put my hands, how I could meditate. And they taught me Gasho before it was a thing in the US. Like I remember seeing on the Reiki News magazine, like new Japanese meditation discovered, Gasho. And I'm like, yeah, I've been doing that for years. And so this was a way that my practice completely uplifted and got infused with energy because I was able to do this journey work. So that was my step one. I was able to without really having much training at all in my background, be able to step into that shamanic journey work with ease. It was easy for me to open up to my spiritual gifts and to develop those clairvoyance and clairaudience gifts. Now, mind you that my primary gifts are clairsentience and clairaudience. So hearing and feeling are my go-tos. And with the shamanic journey, the seeing part really awakened. And so when you do shamanic journey work, you're noticing symbols, you're noticing visuals, you're letting your imagination open up, like divine spirit speaks through your imagination in shamanic journey work. And so you utilize that. And so in the training, you're really learning how to create new neurological synapses to allow your brain to imagine and communicate with spirit so that you can feel into them. And that was huge for me, manifesting meadows. So with that, thank you so much for listening today. If you have any other questions, reach out and I will see you next time. Take care, everyone.